Hi, welcome back to the Tutorium in Intensive English. My name is Katie, and today we're going to be talking about intonation in English. This is the second part of our intonation series. So if you didn't catch our first module about intonation, go ahead and check it out. I think it'll be really helpful. We're going to start with a very quick review of that module, pretty quick though, so it won't be nearly as detailed as if you went back and watched. So we talked about intonation patterns. We talked about four major patterns in English: final rising falling tone, final rising tone, non-final rising tone, and non-final continuous tone. And we're going to look a little bit more at some of those today. We also talked about the fact that intonation is not set. It is very flexible, and we can do a lot of manipulating with our tone, and it's really important to keep that in the back of your head. Everything I'm telling you today are guidelines. They're mostly true most of the time, but we can alter our pitch a lot in many different ways, and it just changes our meaning. This can alter our meaning, and it can shift the emotions behind our words. So changing my tone could make a sentence sound angry or annoyed. If I change it a different way, I could sound uncertain or excited or sad. So tone is really important in communicating those feelings behind our words. So today we're going to look a little bit more at the relationship between intonation and grammar, and how tone, when I say tone, I just mean intonation, how tone can affect the grammar of a sentence. One major way that it can do this is by shifting a statement to a question, right? So it can change a statement into a question if I change my intonation. Today, we're going to look at three types of questions in English and their tones. We're going to examine yes/no questions, WH or information questions, and choice questions. So let's go ahead and get started with those yes/no questions. Now, when I talk about yes/no questions, all I mean are questions that can be answered by yes or no. For example, do you like ice cream? Yes. Yes, I do. Okay, so that can be answered with yes or no. If you asked, what's your name? I can't answer yes, right? My name is Katie. That wouldn't make sense to answer that yes or no. So hopefully that kind of clears up what that means. Now, yes/no questions use a rising tone. Okay, we looked at rising tone last week. This week, we're going to look at its application a little bit deeper. So let's look at an example. Here is a yes/no question. Do you know who wrote this? Do you know who wrote this? So you can hear my tone is going up. Do you know who wrote this? Who wrote this? Now, one thing I like to try, if you're having a little bit of a difficult time hearing or feeling the tone, because maybe you're focusing on the words that you have to say, instead of saying words, hum the word. Hmm? And you can feel that rise in tone without worrying about having to pronounce any vocabulary. Do you know who wrote this? And that can be a good method for feeling and really feeling that rise in tone. Let's look at another example. Is that your favorite author? Okay, so normally we would say this with a rising tone. Is that your favorite author? Now, author is 2 syllables, and the first syllable is our stress syllable. And just a note, I'm locating the final content word of these sentences. That's where I want to place my final pitch change, my tone. When I want my tone to go up or down, I want it to do so over the final content word when I'm talking about final tones. So that's why I'm locating this. I'm focusing my attention on this and author, because those are my final content words. Author is 2 syllables, and the first syllable is our stressed syllable. So we're going to have a little bump over that first syllable, and then I'm going to continue my rise. Is that your favorite author? You can feel, because we know with stressed syllables that pitch increases. My pitch increases on author, and then it continues to go up for that rising tone. Is that your favorite author? Is that your favorite author? Author? Is that your favorite author? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you want to try the hum. Okay. Last example for yes, no questions. Have you read anything by that author? Have you read anything by that author? Have you read anything by that author? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you read anything by that author? Okay, so I hope that this kind of helps you feel and understand the way we use tone a little bit more clearly with yes, no questions. We're going to go ahead and move on to WH questions and how they are affected by intonation, or how they affect our intonation rather. So WH questions and statements use our rising, falling final tone. Okay, so we're talking about final tones at this point. We have an example, where do you want to go for dinner? Dinner is our content, our last content word. It's 2 syllables. Our first syllable is stressed. Where do you want to go for dinner? Where do you want to go for dinner? Dinner. You can feel the pitch increase over the first stressed syllable and then falls. That's where we get the rise and the fall. Where do you want to go for dinner? Where do you want to go for dinner? Where do you want to go for dinner? Dinner. Dinner. You can hum it too. Mm-hmm. 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 I don't know. Where do you want to go for dinner? Okay, let's look at another example. What time should we eat? Let's look at our patterns in this sentence. What time should we eat? Okay, again, now eat is our last content word. Here, we still are going to have a pitch increase and then a fall. It's not going to be quite as dramatic because eat is 1 syllable. It's the last content word. The last content word, 1 syllable. I'm just going to kind of go down this hill. What time should we eat? Eat. Okay, there is an increase. Eat. What time should we eat? You can really feel it if you stretch it out. What time should we eat? You kind of just go down at the end. What time should we eat? Eat. You can also try humming if it helps not to have to worry about vocabulary. Okay, who is coming over tonight? Now, this is kind of like what time should we eat? Because tonight, even though it's 2 syllables, the last syllable is our stressed syllable. Okay, so we're not gonna have as much of a, it's gonna kind of slope down more quickly. It's not gonna feel as much of a up down. There is a pitch increase though, so there is an up down. Who's coming over tonight? Tonight, night. You can feel that night and then down. Who's coming over tonight? Who's coming over tonight? Tonight. Who's coming over tonight? Can feel that downward fall in tone. And our last example, why don't you invite Jordan? Why don't you invite Jordan? She's a lot of fun. Okay, let's do this one together. Jordan is 2 syllables. The first syllable is our stressed syllable, and then, so we're going to have a little bit more of a pronounced pitch increase and then down. Okay, why don't you invite Jordan? Jordan. Why don't you invite Jordan? Jordan. Jordan. Why don't you invite Jordan? Jordan. Okay, so I hope that you can feel that difference between the rise and the fall. Now we know a little bit more about the yes/no questions and WH questions in English. But remember how I said that tone is flexible, right? So we're going to look at how we can really mess around with tone and change our intended meaning. So WH questions can also be said with rising tone, but it's going to change what we're trying to communicate or what we want from the listener, okay? So normally I would say this with a falling tone. What do you want to have for dinner? What do you want to have for dinner? But what if I said this with a rising tone and I said, what do you want to have for dinner? For dinner? What do you want to have for dinner? Dinner? Mm-hmm. If I say it with a rising tone like that, what do you want to have for dinner? This communicates that I knew the answer at some point, and I forgot. So that's one option. You told me earlier today, you told me yesterday, and now I can't remember. What did you want to have for dinner? What do you want to have for dinner? Or you just told me and I don't understand. I didn't understand what you said and I'm asking for clarification. What do you want to have for dinner? What? What do you want to have for dinner? Dinner? Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, let's look at another example. What time are we eating? Normally, I would use falling tone. What time are we eating? Eating. But what if I said it like this? What time are we eating? 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 What time are we eating? Again, I either knew at some point, you told me yesterday, you told me this morning, and I have forgotten and I need you to remind me, or you just told me and I didn't understand. And I'm asking for you to repeat. I'm asking for clarification. And final example, who's coming over tonight? Instead of using falling tone, what if I said it like this? Who's coming over tonight? Who's coming over tonight? Tonight? Again, I either forgot and I need you to remind me, or I didn't understand what you said. Okay, so in this case, I'm asking for clarification or repetition. All right, so that is an important distinction to make with WH questions and rising tone. The last thing that we're going to talk about today are choice questions and intonation. Now, on these types of questions, we have choice one. We rise on our first choice and we fall on our second choice. Let's look at an example. Do you want to make dinner or go out for dinner? Let's see this with our tone lines. Do you want to make dinner or go out for dinner? Make dinner or go out for dinner? Okay. Is she arriving today or tomorrow? Is she arriving today or tomorrow? Tomorrow. Today or tomorrow? Will you collect the assignment this week or next week? Will you collect the assignment this week or next week? This week or next week? And would you rather watch a movie or play a game? Would you rather watch a movie or play a game? Watch a movie or play a game? Okay, so this is our pattern for choice questions. We go up on the first choice to signal, I'm not finished yet, there's more coming. It's not a final tone, it's watch a movie or, and then we use a final tone for the second choice. Okay, so I hope that this has helped you understand intonation even more than you did before, and that you have a pretty solid grasp on how we use intonation with questions in English. I'm sure we will be looking at tone again in the future, so if you do have more questions, don't worry. But until then, keep practicing with your tone, and remember, tone is flexible and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Practice using your tones.